Well, one of us might as well talk. I see Kelli Rae isn't quite on the call yet, but it's nice to see so many faces. I know we're kind of in the time of where we need to get on Zoom to see people. So thank you all for joining us today. This is a new adventure. We wanted to continue on with the exchange and get some great feedback from our many participants. So it'll be exciting. A twist to the exchange.
Well, and this is my first one. I'm Nicole. I'm the chair of the board of the Chamber of Commerce right now. And I thought there was 4 people on here. I just expanded it open. There's like 26 people already. So I think this is kind of cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we can learn and how we can make this a wonderful event.
We're up to 28 now. Look at that. It keeps growing.
Morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody today?
I'm good. It's a great day.
Looks like a lot of people did their hair today. Everybody looks really good.
Put a fancy scarf on to dress up.
Fair enough. I wore my slippers to work today. Anybody else?
Just wait for a couple more to get on and then we can get going. I'll kind of, for those that didn't attend the first exchange, I'll let you know a little bit of how it came about. Our champion committee wanted to be able to engage our membership and get some feedback on what we're each doing in different areas. And so we had the opportunity to team up with Kelli Rae and provide, it's going to be about a 10-month program. Every month is going to have different topics and it's going to be, there'll be a learning part, but then there's also going to be, which is an important part, that the exchange of thoughts and ideas. I'm just, oh, there's Kelli Rae. I see her down there. Excellent. All right, Kelli, did you want to get going or there we go.
Yeah, actually, I talked for about a minute before I realized I was muted. Sorry, Sydney.
Hey, we're all learning. We're all in this together. We're learning when to put the video on, when to take the video off.
Yeah, I've been shutting off the video to wipe my nose. And if you do see me shut off the video to wipe my nose, it's allergies. I do not have the coronavirus, I promise. I see a lot of familiar, beautiful, intelligent faces out there. It's so nice to see everybody. Wow, I think I've had 3 screens of people before. 2, okay. Also,
if you 32 participants, that's exciting.
Awesome. I think it's good to give maybe 2 more minutes before we jump into the material. Are you good with that?
Sure. I know some people are on a bit of a timeline.
Okay, we can get going. We're recording it too, so we can always send it to the people who were late or join us later. Excellent. Okay, great. So today, the whole point of us getting together is to talk about marketing. It's sort of the first part 1 of 3 sessions, where we're going to be talking about collecting data and using that data for marketing. Just trying to get my screens beside each other. Here we go. And so what I'm going to do is, has anybody actually, if you were at the ATB seminar that I taught a few weeks ago, can you kind of raise your hand or send a chat? Catherine, okay. Anybody else? Oh, there's my chat.
Sorry, I missed the question.
That's okay. If you were at my ATB seminar a few weeks ago on marketing data and analysis, I just wanted to know who was all there. So it looks like a couple of people. And Penny wants me to explain the chat function. So what I'm going to do is allow everyone in the meeting to chat. The first time I did this, the chat was going so crazy. People were all talking so much the whole time that it was very hard to get everyone's questions and stuff answered. So my hope is that while I go through the material as quickly as I can, you guys will kind of hold on to your questions. But then when I say, okay, I'm through the teaching portion, let's mastermind, let's ask questions, let's share our challenges, let's share our experience. And that's where we'll really start to see the magic happen with all the intelligence and creativity in the room. And just so they know how to do it. So to the right of where you can see all your people, to the right, there should be a white box that says chat. And the bottom there, as long as the 2 says to everyone in meeting, you can select to everyone. Then you type your message there. That will go publicly so everyone can see your message. And if you just want to send it to me so that I don't say who's asking the question, just choose my name and send it to me. Is that good, Penny?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, perfect. Okay, so first of all, we're going to talk about how are we tracking lead sources. That's one of the most important things that I see often being neglected, and it's so scary because it's so important. So if you're doing online marketing, you probably have some really cool online reports. You have your Google Analytics, you have your click-throughs and your ad campaigns. You can see how many people liked and shared and engaged on your videos or your posts on social media. But if you're having any sort of old school, any non-online referral sources, which a lot of us are, a lot of businesses are still, up to 80% referral based. You want to be able to track those, and that is going to take us right back to good old manual tracking. So we've got like this tick sheet, and we have the month at the top, and we have Facebook, walked by and saw the sign, heard about you from a friend, saw your billboard, heard about you at BNI, like all the different ways that people could hear about you. And we just put tick marks in there every time we hear how somebody heard about us. And then at the end of the month, we put it into this beautiful spreadsheet, and it shows us what percentage of our leads are coming from each type. So we'll get a little bit more into that. We also want to talk about identifying and surveying your best customers, because a lot of marketing training, in my experience, has told us that we should make up these fake avatars. We should make up these people who are, like Sally, 35 with 3 kids, who grocery shops at the local. She supports local, she likes organic. And while I've seen that produce some results, I am a much bigger fan of taking our actual customers, especially if we've been in business for a while, and we can look at that group of people who are real people and find out what common characteristics they have. How old are they? What behaviors do they share? What hobbies do they share? We found some really cool things that way. And that's one of the ways that we can really reduce our marketing spend, is by finding out that maybe 80% of your ideal clients, their kids all play soccer, and sponsoring a soccer team, those jerseys last for years. So that's going to be a lot more of a good spend of your money once you know that sort of thing about your ideal clients. We're also going to look at tracking conversion rate, because I think even if some people are tracking leads and then they get asked, well, we all do this. I'm even wrong. I know I am wrong, because I thought of the last time someone asked me this. When I say, oh, how many leads do you get a month? And whatever number that is, oh, let's say 100. Oh, and how many of those do you convert? Oh, pretty much all of them. We all say that. And that's just not true. So if you want to start tracking your leads and your conversion rate, you're going to start to get a lot more insight into how much money is being left on the table. They say that 84% of sales are done between the 5th and 12th follow-up. And I don't know many people who have a follow-up procedure in place that's actually 5 or more times, but I can tell you that there's some of my favorite clients became my clients after 12 follow-ups. And I have a lot of people thank me for following up, because we just have so many things going on in our life that it's a service to be reminded, as long as you're doing it in a classy, serving way. We're also going to talk about how to identify your ideal customer segments. We're going to talk about their demographics and psychographics, talk about tracking your advertising and marketing expenses, and then if we have time, which I'm guessing we won't, an overview of the marketing plan, because I want to really get into the group discussion. But what you guys can do if you want a copy of our free marketing plan template, just go to tmhbusiness.com after this, just download the marketing plan template. It's all on there. Okay, so let's talk about identifying and surveying your best clients and customers. So we already talked about how we want to use real people instead of avatars if possible. If you are a newer business, or if I've heard some people say, I don't have any good customers, you know, like you're kind of looking to change your business or get a whole new group of customers that you actually really like working with more, then I would say identify people who could be good prospective customers. I had Assistant Mastery, this it's a company that started like virtual assistant bookkeeping stuff, contact me and say, after she heard my ATB seminar, I thought it was pretty cute. You would be an ideal client. So can you please fill out my survey? So it's a way for you to show people that, hey, I'm interested in you as a client, but also, hey, I care enough and I'm business savvy enough to be doing research. Like that's how much I care. And oftentimes doing research with people will actually help be one of those touch points that makes them a client. Identify your top clients. So when I say survey your ideal clients, what I mean is find a way to take, if you have 2,000 clients, find a way to pick your top 200. And usually I would probably export, if you can do a report with your clients and their spend, like maybe you could look at the last 5 years, the last whatever period you choose, get a list of your clients and their spend and export it and sort it by highest spend. And then what I would do is I would print that out and let your staff get involved with some Sharpies and let them cross out anybody who they don't like working with, or anybody who is unkind to them, or anybody who doesn't pay their bills on time, or anybody who, people who your staff don't like, they're not good clients. If your clients aren't treating your staff well, they're not good clients. If they don't pay their bills on time, they're not good clients. If they make snarky little remarks to you about how much you cost, they're not good clients. So start with the people who spent the most money with you just for a starting point, but then Sharpie out the people that are not ideal. Okay, so you can really get yourself down to that cream of the crop, and you really want to get 10%. So don't let yourself down and sell yourself short and do like 5% or less. You know, I know it's hard to get people to answer surveys, but right now people are loving surveys. Right now is like the best time ever to send out surveys because people are like getting a little bit bored of scrolling their Facebook feed, right? So if you can identify your top clients and send them a survey right now would be awesome. And free survey template, I have that somewhere. Laura, are you on here? I'm guessing she is. And if she's not, I'll just make a little note here. We'll make sure to get you guys, anybody who wants here's the best way. Anybody who wants the free survey template that we made up, it's just like what we would send to a client. You can just edit it and make it your own. Just email office@tmhbusiness.com and she will give that to you. Sorry, that was the first time I think in 3 weeks where I've been like, oh no, Laura's not here. She's been working at home for 3 weeks and it's been going fairly smooth. But I just had a moment of panic. So it'll be fine. Just email office@tmhbusiness.com. Okay, and then we want to survey them. So once we identify those people, I really hope that you have their email addresses because that would be wonderful. And we could use Google Forms to make a free survey, which are, oh, I see 2 hands raised. 1 second here. Sorry guys, I'm not a huge expert with Zoom. We just started using it. I don't know how to do the hand raise thing. So I'm just gonna get you to hold your questions until the question period, if that works. Because I really wanna get through this so then we can have that mastermind part. So identifying and surveying your best clients, customers. Okay, so survey them. So Google Forms I think is a great tool. And Laura also said that if you go to tmhbusiness.com, our ideal client survey is actually on there as a free download as well. So you don't even have to email her. I think she's saying, don't email me, it's on the website. Okay, so when we're going to survey them, I highly recommend Google Forms. It's super intuitive. Once you start typing the questions, it predicts what type of question you want. Multiple choice, scale of 1 to 10, long answer, short answer. It's a beautiful tool. And also, I love Google Forms because, well, it's free. And also the way it amalgamates data is just beautiful. So you can look at the individual responses once they come back, or you can just look at the total responses. So you'll get like pie charts for most of the questions, and it'll say like 80% of your respondents said that they value your customer service more than your price, or whatever the question is. So yeah, I recommend Google Forms for sure for that survey. And then analyze and use the data. So be very careful when you send out surveys not to take it personally. And this is something that I'm a huge hypocrite on, because every time someone says something mean to me on social media, the bigger you get, the more you get on there, right? I still take it personally. I still call my counselor. Like it's really hard, but with surveys, especially because you're surveying your ideal clients, I would make it anonymous, don't require their email address, and don't try to figure out who these people are, because some of them are going to say things that are a little bit hard to hear, but they're going to help you so much in your business. They're going to help you be so much better. So I urge you not to look at the individual surveys, do the Google form, and then just look at the amalgamated data. Okay. Because that's how you can analyze and use the data. If you start to pick through each survey and why would she say that? This lady must be crazy. I'm gonna go look at her Facebook profile. Oh, she looks mean. You know, like just take a breath. Don't look at one individually. Just look at it all together. Look at it amalgamated, and that's where you're gonna start to see trends and really useful information. So step 1, we talked about identify your ideal clients. Yes, we got that. Create your survey. Oh, the other thing too is, I know that you probably are not open right now with waiting rooms, but when you are, you can also get people to do surveys on a clipboard, because then they don't notice that you're late and they like to have something to do when they're waiting. If you have clients who are not good with email, you can also phone them and do the survey over the phone. Just be careful not to ask like leading questions, you know, don't suggest what their answer might be. I have had a couple businesses offer incentives for these surveys. So they said, complete the survey and, you know, show us your phone when you come in, and you'll get $10 towards your next purchase. And this business got 75% of their ideal clients respond. So the usual survey response rate is like 3 to 5% or something. So you do have to do some work to get these surveys done. And it's just like the sales number I told you about, you know, 84% of sales being done between the 5th and 12th follow-up. To get your surveys done, to get Google reviews from people, to get a lot of things from people, you're gonna have to follow up, okay? That's, I think one of the things that annoyed most people that I worked with in my early management days the most, but it was also one of the things that made me the most effective. Just follow up until you get what you need. Obviously in a way that's not rude or annoying though, okay? So if these surveys are done correctly, you're going to find out how old your ideal clients are, what do they love about you, what type of marketing and branding actually works to get them into your business, what to say to attract more ideal clients like them, and how to keep them coming back. And again, I know I'm going really quick through this, but if you guys go get that free ideal client survey template off my website, all my questions are in there. Okay, so tracking your marketing. So we talked about tracking leads, and there, the leads, there's 2 lead sheets that I recommend you guys use. I'm just gonna check, Laura, are those also on the website? Let's see here. Yes, oh, great. Okay, so for lead tracking, the things I talked about, again, I'm flying through this, but those are also on the website. So pretty much everything under free resources on the website you can find, okay? And if there's something you can't find, just email office@tmhbusiness.com and we will get it to you. So we want to just recap, we're gonna find the leads because we wanna know where they came from, but we also wanna be able to follow up with them. Then we're gonna track the number of them who actually convert. We're also gonna track how many times we follow up with them. And we definitely want to know how they heard about us or where they found out about us. And I would ask that question twice. You know, I would say, okay, where else? Because a lot of people nowadays, on average, it takes them 16 impressions of your brand before they take action towards purchasing, because we see about 3,000 advertising messages a day. Advertising has become very It's like this, like on YouTube, you know, how it's like, you only have to watch this ad for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 more second, and then you can get away from it. So advertising is no longer welcome in people's lives. So it does take about 16 impressions of your brand. So when you ask them how they heard about you, you want to say, oh, okay, is there anywhere else that you've seen or heard about us? Because you want to record both of those responses, okay? I'm gonna go quickly through this. I just don't want to take up too much time before we get to the mastermind session. But if you're using a CRM, power to you. I love it. I love good, we have active campaigns, so I love a good software where it can keep track of your clients for you and help organize emails and campaigns and things like that. But sometimes people miss out on tracking leads. They're only putting people in there once they're customers. So you want to make sure you're tracking leads somewhere. And I usually say, if you don't have a CRM yet, track leads in a spreadsheet. Make a wicked spreadsheet that works really, really well. And then use that spreadsheet until you're like, okay, this is exactly what I need from a CRM. Then shop for a CRM. And now is a really good time to shop for a CRM, because a lot of the big software companies are like Oprah right now. Like, everybody gets this for free, you know? So spreadsheets are good. Spreadsheets are cool. Google Sheets are the best, but just use that for now. Okay. One more thing I wanted to recommend here is with lead sources. So if you've got an administrator, a receptionist, or a marketing person, sometimes salespeople, whoever answers the phone sometimes can be asking, how did you hear about us? Make sure the information entered is accurate, okay? Because if we put garbage in, we get garbage out, and we need great data for data-driven decision making. Also make sure when they're entering emails, this is such a huge common mistake, people are putting in the wrong email addresses. So talk to your staff about how important it is that if somebody actually gives you their email and gives you permission to email them, that is amazing. That is like gold. We need to type that. You know what a lot of places are doing that's really good right now is they'll say, okay, I'm going to send you a quick email right now, and then say, check your phone and tell me if you got it. So then they're actually verifying it. So just remember that, garbage in, garbage out. Want to make sure that the information that your staff is collecting is accurate. Just make sure that they know that, because if they don't, we're not going to be able to calculate cost per customer, cost per lead, return on investment, or conversion rate on your different types of lead sources. And the next session, we're going to get into really analyzing all this data. Today, I wanted to start talking about just tracking it, so that next time we have something to analyze. We also want to make sure this is systemized so that it actually happens. So if it's somebody's job to put those leads into the spreadsheet, if you're the manager or you have a manager, has to go on the calendar to go check to make sure they're doing their job. Most annoying part of being a manager, which is why most of us hire business managers, but you have to remind people to do the most important parts of their job. Okay. Also, reviewing those numbers monthly teaches people that they're important. So if every month you're like, hey, let's review those marketing numbers, then people are like, oh, they're actually asking for this. Like, this must be one of the important things. Okay, so tracking conversion rate, that just means we're gonna calculate out of 100 leads how many converted. And we want to track that separately for each type of lead source, because we want to know, do we get a lot of leads from Facebook, but they don't convert? That's the case for a lot of people. Do we get fewer leads from current client referrals, but do 90% of them convert? That's also the case for a lot of people. So when you're looking at your marketing and advertising and business development opportunities, you really want to evaluate those 4 different numbers. So yes, we want to know if there's return on investment, but we also want to know how much we pay per customer. So if we spend $1,000 a month on Facebook and we're getting 1 new customer a month on Facebook, but that customer is only worth $500 a year to us, is it worth it? I'd say there's probably something else that'd work better. We also want to look at the cost per lead. How many leads are we getting for that spend? And then we really want to look at the conversion rate. So when we look at all 4 of those things, that gives you a good idea of whether or not that particular activity is working. Next, I want you to gather your financial information. So if you guys aren't looking at your financials every month, look at your financials every month for sure. This is the #1 thing that you have to do in your business to make your business better. You have to have a budget and you have to look at your numbers every month to see if you're hitting your revenue goals, to see if you're maintaining your expense goals, to see if you're hitting your profit goals. And what I really want you to focus on when you go look at last month's numbers or last 6 numbers is look at your advertising, marketing, and sponsorship numbers and use those numbers to calculate your return on investment on each of them, your cost per customer on each of them, your cost per lead on each of them, okay? Okay, I do have some book recommendations if anybody's interested. I find these are always a hot item. So if you want to get a pen and paper, I will read you these book titles quickly, and then we will move into our discussion phase. So I like Hug Your Haters by Jay Baer, Talk Triggers by Jay Baer. Retail Reengineering is super relevant and great right now by Doug Stevens. Purple Cow by Seth Godin is always a good one. I'm going to go ahead and throw in there Who Moved My Cheese. I don't know if you guys have read that, but I think now is a great time to reread that book. I was thinking about the little mouse with his runners the other day. The Psychology of Influence of Persuasion, Robert Cialdini. Amazing book. Very, very, very important for marketers. Contagious by Jonah Berger. And the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing by Al Ries and Jack Trout. All right, let's make it big and let's open up the, how did I lose the chat? One sec, guys. Okay, so on my last call last week, I had fairly shy people. I think I only had 5 or 6 people really share. And I got some feedback after that. They said, well, if we could just type in the comments instead of actually having to talk and show you our face, then we would be more likely to ask questions. So the plan for today is, wow, I got a lot of RD comments. Just one second here. Awesome. Thanks, Kaela. Okay, so I'm going to, the chat should be open for everybody. Is everybody, yeah, everybody should be able to chat. So if you want to ask a question now or share a comment about a challenge you're having, or if you want to share a success you're having, I would love that. But right before we get into that, I just want to take 30 seconds and have everybody close their eyes, because we got to get into a creative brainstorming positive space here, because this is how it works. We're going to close our eyes for 30 seconds, and you're going to picture something that makes you really, really grateful. Okay, who wants to start? I see some of my faves on there, so I'm just going to start picking on them if nobody jumps in. The Cialdini book was really good. Thanks, Alan. Kayla, you said you have a really good spreadsheet if anybody wants a copy. Is that the lead tracking one, the lead sources one?
Yeah, that's the one that we did together. That has been fantastic. We just added a little bit and it's great. So if anyone wants to use it, it's ready to go set up. Like, it's so awesome to use. So I'll just send you a blank copy over, and we do it on Google Docs, on Google Spreadsheet. So that's really good with our team, because then everyone has access to it. So it's real life. So if my office manager answers the phone, she can put the lead in right away, and our production can see that's happening, or our other salespeople can see what's going on. And it's the best tool that, yeah, thanks Kelli Rae for that, because that has done wonders for our company. But the key is you have to use it. So you need to make sure you fill it in properly and use it, or else it's a waste of time.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Oh, your internet gave you a funny face. Do you have a plug-in, or can you move closer to your router?
Does that work?
Sounds good now.
Okay.
We had a funny face for a second, but you know what? I'm so glad you brought that up. Execution trumps everything. Like, I can teach you so many things. Like, I can give you all the free tools. I could spend hours with you, right? But if you don't do the thing, do the follow-up, fill in the spreadsheet, put it in the calendar, execute, you don't get the results, right? way better when you say that than me. Thank you. Thank you.
No, it's true. And it's funny because we've figured that out the hard way though. Cause we're like, oh, da, 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 da. And then when we would meet with Kelli Rae and she's like, oh, so you have 300 leads this month and only a quarter of them have a check mark here. Are you not following up with them? Like, this is your way throwing money out the door. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess maybe we should probably use the spreadsheet. And yeah.
I think I need to be less nice too. It sounds like I'm not naggy enough. I know there are people out there, guys, who are struggling right now. So please type your question in the chat. And there are some brilliant people on this call. We can help you. If nobody starts asking questions, I'm just going to start sharing the cool things that I've heard so far. But that list is not going to take us 31 minutes. So I would really love to have other people jump in too.
I do have a question, or at least something that I think might be a good talking point because it's something I've considered. Have any businesses recently made that jump to using a CRM up that with their employee base? I mean, that's the difficult thing for a lot of businesses that are looking to take that next step in tracking leads and where they develop business is how they're actually going to roll that out with staff. So that's something that we consider down the road having to do. And so I just thought I'd kind of borrow from the experience in this call. When you're rolling that out to your employee base, like, what's the best way to go about introducing this new concept and showing the benefit that it'll have not only to them, but to the business as a whole?
Well, Mitch, first of all, if you don't have a CRM yet, please use a Google Sheet to start with, like Kaela's talking about. Track their company, the follow-ups, what they're interested in, like make that spreadsheet like so powerful before you even start looking at demos. But then when you do roll it out, remember, like, have you ever read Kotter's change model?
I have not.
So I have sort of my own version of effective change, and it's sort of, I steal some of his I borrow some of his concepts. I gave him full credit on my thesis, of course, but I think creating urgency is a big first step, making staff that know that unless we make this change, something difficult will happen, or something bad will continue to happen, or we will continue to be ineffective, which sucks for everyone. So creating urgency, right? Establishing the importance for the change, and make sure that you create a really compelling vision. So when we get this working, when we're all using this, the data is going to be so clean. It's going to make your job easier. You're going to be able to hit your targets. You're going to get rewarded for it. Everyone will be happier. We won't have a million spreadsheets. We'll save paper. Make sure also that you check in with your team before, during, and after the change. Check your employee engagement, because you want to keep an eye on how they're doing. You know, if you do a monthly employee engagement survey, that's perfect. Just keep an eye on that, because a lot of times when we roll out change, 75% of the time when we roll out change, it fails. So establish the emergency, create a compelling vision, keep reiterating that vision, check in with the employees for engagement, make sure they're on board, and then deploy effective leadership. So whether it's just you or you get some other people who are amped about the CRM, make sure that you've got just enthusiastic leadership leading that change and reiterating that vision. Does that help? Are you looking for example CRMs?
Well, no, it would be great to also hear from anybody else out there that's had that experience in rolling out a large initiative or a big change, because that's I think where myself and a lot of places are at is hearing that experience on how it went, like where are the pitfalls that we need to be aware of before we even start to reach out on this endeavor. So no, I think that the information is great. It all makes sense to me, but I just thought I'd toss that out there if anybody else has had that experience with I see Whitney's question in the chat revolving, making a huge change during something like this. I think there's probably some connections to what businesses are having to do to adapt, and something as straightforward as adopting a CRM. So just thought I'd throw that out there.
Mitch, I love that. And in our other store, we actually implemented 2 major software changes in the last year, and we did a bad job at it. So you can learn from me. You need to, like, when you buy an expensive software, and you don't have a spreadsheet first that's teaching you what you need and what, you know, what sort of functions you really, what information you need to be able to pull out quickly, what needs to be accessible, how many people need access to it, how it's going to be updated, you make the wrong choice. You know, I think we got Kangaroo, Lightspeed, and one other thing, and we're still not using it to its full ability. And I'm really hoping that they're going to turn out to be the dream softwares that we think, but they were bought without the spreadsheet practice. So I think that's one big mistake to avoid.
Kelly, I'm just going to jump in quick because there's a couple things that, you know, when we started, kind of caught my attention when you said old school. Well, really anything pre-March 13th, 2020 might be considered old school at this point. But when we look at different things like CRM, and I've implemented quite a few different ones over the years, and I think about, Mitch, if you think about what's the purpose of it, and I think if you went through the process of what Kelli Rae did with saying about who's your ideal customer, what information do you want to gather, keep it as simple as possible, start out with, because then your staff and your clients are going to see wins right off the top. So keep it simple so you have wins right away with some of that. And then the other thing, you know, we've had to, the whole marketing thing has been a challenge, making sure that we get out information as quickly as possible and that's as accurate as possible. So from a marketing point of view, sometimes that leaves an interesting challenge in our social media lifestyle. And I know a lot of people have used social media for a long time for different ways. So that marketing strategy, kind of like what going back to Whitney's question, it kind of goes back to keeping it simple and what's easy for your staff, how are you going to market that, and your customers. Like, so doing that full analysis of it, and then try bite size of what works so you feel some successes.
Can I just speak to you a little bit? I'm a financial planner that I run my own business, but I'm also co-owner of a plumbing business with my husband. So he's obviously he's actually the one that's rolled out these major changes. So he has more insight to this, but we've tried a couple of different programs trying to make sure that they always integrated with QuickBooks Online. And we're always trying to look for new things. And about 6 months ago, we adopted a CRM that required everybody to have iPads, and it really gave our journeymen and stuff like that a chance to really do more like selling when they're in people's homes, or not necessarily selling, but recognizing where, you know, oh, you know, I'm here for your hot water tank, but I also see that, you know, maybe this needs to be done in 6 months. Like, it was able to sort of create a bigger funnel. And so some of his biggest challenges, definitely, sometimes it's employee adoption. Sometimes it's just like reminding that we all are using the system. We're all using the system. We're all using the system. But also getting their buy-in before going with the program was a really, really key thing, because when we tried other ones, it didn't have him buy in before we started. That made it a lot more difficult. So I hope
Lacey,
there's some
thank you so much. Yeah, if they help to decide, there's so much more bought in. That's such a great point. Such a great point. Yeah, the same with everything, even with hiring people. It's good to get people's buy-in. Yeah, great point. I want to not lose people in the chat here, so we're going to talk. Whitney, anyone out there that has had to change their complete marketing strategy at this moment considering COVID, how have you been going about that? So I'll give you a few little tidbits of what we've done with some of my clients, but also Lane Anderson and I are hosting a live call on Friday called Marketing and Sales in a New Landscape. It's also free. It's another Zoom call like this. And we're going to basically go over each section of the marketing plan and how it should be different. So we will send out an email. Make sure you guys are all on my email list. We'll send out an email about that, but it'll be Friday, I think 4:30 or 5. Yeah, we're going to go through. Lane's a real expert on online marketing, so he's going to go through a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of really, really cheap ways to reach people right now, but we definitely don't want to be salesy. We want to be talking about stories. We want to be talking about how we can help people. But my main thing is like, the beginning of my marketing plan starts with, what are your goals for marketing? and marketing is authentically who you are. So who are you? So those two questions I would start with. 6 months ago, your goals for your marketing plan might have been to hire 10 people, to get 100 new customers a month, and to increase your net profit margin. But now the goals for your marketing plan might be to create awareness, to book events for the fall and the winter, or to share ways that you're helping the community. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you want to get really clear on whether you have new goals for your marketing plan. And then you really want to do a little bit of journaling or a little bit of thinking on marketing is authentically sharing who we are. Who are we? Because that's all marketing is. It's sharing who we really are. And if anybody tries to do it differently, it doesn't work. And then I don't want to talk the whole time. It's supposed to be a mastermind, so I'm very trying to not talk the whole time. So Whit, if you want to join us Friday, even if you can't, there will be a recording, so you can also get that recording. But Lane is a brilliant online marketer and has some great news about some very cheap ways to reach people. So we will go through all of the sections of the marketing plan and kind of re-look at how we should be marketing now versus before. And I would love to have you on there. I know that you're in a very specific, very affected business, right? With being events is what you sell, and events are what cannot happen. So we got you. We're brainstorming. I'm waking up at 3 a.m. with ideas.
So, hey, you know what? I'd love to hear. Yeah, I am in a super affected industry at the moment. But I'd love to hear from some other business owners in the group as far as what they're doing for marketing strategies. I guess this group specifically, we're here to talk about marketing. So I'd love to hear like how things have really changed for you, especially in the last 2 weeks, and what you're doing to completely change your marketing strategy. Like I know some businesses have gone from trying to, like caterers, for example, are going from running large events to now offering at-home dinner packages. So they've had to shift like extremely quickly in the industry and then change their entire marketing plan throughout the last 2 weeks. So if there's any other business owners out there that like to share how they've had to change their complete marketing, maybe even business strategy over just the last 2 weeks in order to shift for this change, I'd love to just hear about how everyone's dealing with it.
Jillian looks like she has something to share in the chat. Maybe she'd be willing to share it with her voice on her camera.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, lots of familiar faces. Yeah, so real estate, we are definitely in flux. So whether you're selling houses or doing commercial real estate, a big part of what we do is show space. And having people in your home or in your commercial space is right now a liability. And so it's gone from disclosures, acknowledgements, additional paperwork. But then it's also about how do we support, specifically for myself in commercial real estate, how do we support our landlords in making sure that business people and tenants can see space in a safe way and still be able to go to the next step. So right now everybody's really struggling, but in September, my gut is saying that we are going to get an onslaught of business and things are going to have a huge shift. And so what I was moving to prior to this through some newer technology in the form of reaching people and bringing them in without actually having them in our spaces, it's now become much more urgent. So from a real estate perspective, that's where the technology, like we've always had CRMs and tracking our clientele and phone numbers and getting our information to them, but now it's actually putting people virtually into space. And then about the time that they're ready to make a move into the space, they actually get in there to check it off or confirm that they're moving in before a lot of money's exchanged. So it'll also weed out a lot of non-essential tire kickers, so to speak. So unless you're really wanting to make a move, we're not going to be seeing those people. So it's going to be a bit slower, but it's going to be more intentional. I think business is going to be more intentional than it has been. So this disruption is just a catalyst for change, specifically technology. It shows in the stock market.
We've had a wicked change at Shoe Solutions too, Whit, if you want me to share that. Yeah. So before, we were actually had an outside marketing agency that my partner had hired before I bought in last year. And so they were just posting what they thought, you know, like about shoes and the podorthic services we offered and things like that, very salesy. And I canceled that and I got the staff in-house, just being, I don't know if you guys have ever been in Shoe Solutions, but the way you get treated in there is so special. It's no matter who you get on our team, you just get treated like with so much love and care, and people are down on their hands and knees, fitting your shoes in your feet, and they're measuring your feet. You're going into these digital scanners. Like, it's quite an experience. And it's one of the reasons why I bought into the business. And I think it's the future of retail, really, is the experience, right? So the fact that we can't get people in our store to experience us, when the essential business closure thing came down, I was like, oh, my chest. That was the reason, right? Because that's what we had. So now what we're really focusing on is getting that out on video, getting that out on photos, like how much we care about people. It's for when we reopen, but also showing who we are and how much we care in like a very safe way. So like Ryan made a video yesterday with gloves on and double bag, and he like showed how a customer called and paid over the phone with their credit card, and then he brought the shoes out and left them outside their car, and then he went back in, and then they opened their door, and then they got their shoes. So we've basically had to go from selling to just saying, we're still here to serve you if you need us, and we're doing it in a very safe way. We're following all of the CMOH guidelines, and also we're trying to maintain that positive future focus, sort of like, we'll be back, you know?
Hey, Kelli Rae, can I make a comment?
No.
Okay.
Yes, Allan, please.
Hey, just to kind of reiterate your Shoe Solutions experience, I bought shoes there last year, and it was an amazing thing. Like I think I went back like 4 times they adjusted this and put a little pad thing in and just made them perfect. So it was a very amazing experience. The first time I've ever had a shoe buying experience like that.
Oh, that's good to hear.
That was really good. But I guess the other thing that I'm thinking right now is I think this is less of a time to sell or market and more of a time to serve. So I'm talking to clients every day or saying, hey, Kayla's got the thumbs up. You know, that we're talking to clients every day. They're having challenges. How do we keep your people healthy? What do we do about this? We're going to lay off people. What do we do with their benefits? Those kind of things. So basically just trying to give them as many options as possible and just being there to support in any way. I had a call from some of them, got nothing to do with what I do, employee benefit specialist. They're asking me about operating in terms of being safe and continuing to operate. And so we had a chat about that. I think I was able to help them with that. But anyways, I think that's really with the focus right now. It's all going to come around when it resets, when we get going, you know, those that us who are of value and trying to help people in these goofy times they're going to remember that. And hopefully we'll have a more solid business relationship after that is kind of my thought.
Yeah, I think we're reminding people that we really care and that we're in this together. I think the things that people really need from us right now are connection, community, comfort, and support. So even like if you can show like pictures of something comforting, or if you can do a video where you're like, I know you're lonely, I want to hug you too, like here's a virtual hug, or just, you know, how are you? Like calling people and just asking them how they are. Especially if you have sort of a prospect type business, just reaching out and being like, how are you? Because I've gotten a lot of messages from people recently, which is weird for me because being a business coach, I'm always asking people how they are, right? So for me, people, including my clients, people would be asking me, how are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm actually pretty stressed. Thanks for asking, you know, like this is not normal for us. Like, so just reaching out saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. How are you doing? I think that's a great. Yeah. Bruce Galt, Cindy wants you to talk.
Okay.
Thank you,
hi,
Bruce.
Everybody. So I'll talk about the 4 different companies. We have some others, but those ones have all had to make a pivot, I would say, in different ways. So Galco Homes, which a lot of folks might have heard of, it's a very forward-facing sales and marketing approach. Sales or show homes are our primary method of selling houses. There's been a lot of other branding, but if people can't walk into a show home, your sales are going to drop a lot, and people are fearful to walk in a show home. So we've changed our whole business plan, had discussions with banks and folks that loan us money about understanding that will shift that this year. And I think it's really important for folks to do that, to re-examine their business plan and be realistic. Those conversations have all been really positive, by the way. And I think that's generally what you'll find if you're dealing with folks that are loaning you money. But also we had to change our whole sales approach. So we're not relying in any way on sales with traffic coming in from the street. And now back to the CRM approach. We don't use a specific CRM. We just use Excel and hold regular sales meetings where we want to see what's going on there. And that's where a lot of outreaches happen. It's not leading to a ton of sales. We're still getting some offers, but much less than we're used to, but it's keeping people aware. And I think that's really important. Galco Renos, we've turned off our marketing and sales approach because people don't want you in their house. And I'm not sure we want our employees in their house at this time. And that's generally what rentals are. So we're able to do that. Paul Davis is an interesting one. A lot of you may not have heard of that. It's a fairly new startup for us, but it's a franchise. And it's a restoration. We come in and do insurance cleanup, sewer, water, that kind of stuff, asbestos, mold. And we've just started completely changing our whole marketing program to disinfecting. And interestingly enough, it's a franchise, and how poor their marketing is around that. It's very corporate. Their marketing, which you might see some of, shows guys all in the hazmat suit and the big mask. That's scary. And it's oddly, I don't know, the wrong approach, I'll say, in my view. People are looking for safety. Disinfecting is about protecting your employees, your grandparents, your kids, your customers, that kind of thing. So we're actually working on changing the whole marketing approach to that. But we shifted that company completely towards that kind of service in the community at this point until something changes, and then we'll move back to some of the other stuff we're doing. And then Genuine Siding and Roofing, an interesting change there in that because they deal with construction, the cycle times are so long, they're having a fantastic March and April. But we expect May and June will be terrible. So we're anticipating, and we've actually moved to do much more non-traditional work for us, farm work, commercial, and that kind of stuff, because we're expecting house sales to drop off. But each one of those, I mean, the punchline being, we had to change our whole business plan starting 3 weeks ago. And now we're changing our marketing plan to reflect each one of those. And they're all in various stages of change right now. But if we try to keep doing what we were doing, it wouldn't have worked. And we'll see how it plays, but you got to be nimble.
Yeah, flexibility is always key. Sorry, Bruce, I didn't see your comments before. That's why I didn't ask you to talk. It's the chat was going pretty crazy. So I just stopped it for a minute so that I could make sure that I don't miss anybody else, and then I'll turn it back on. But was that everything that you wanted to share, Bruce?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I saw that you commented way back there. Okay. So the next one that I have here that I think I missed, Whitney wants to hear from Vicki and Tracy. And Go-To Girl Solutions closes tonight. Would have stayed open, but didn't feel good about the risks on employees and clients. My marketing will be to stay connected with my clients and service where I can. Okay, so no question there. And then Whitney says, that's the other part of it. Even if the government says you can stay open, how far do you go with that? So we should, let's talk about that. I'm glad Cindy's here because she and I might disagree on this, but we'll come to a good, and actually I'm glad all of you are here because I want all of your opinions on this. But for me, if you feel like people need your service, people need your help, and you can do it in a very safe way where you're following all of the CMOH guidelines, you're allowed to do that. So I feel like you should do that. But if you're just doing it because you're trying to make sales and or if you're putting anyone in any sort of danger, then absolutely don't do it. That would be my view on how far you would go with that. What are your thoughts on that, Cindy?
Well, from a risk management point of view, as soon as this was stated an emergency, I put out a memo to the staff and to the chamber as an organization, to the executive, to just to kind of put some standard safety precautions into place. So, you know, at the time, you know, the distancing, when it first came out, so it was first sent out on March 13th. So just saying these are our protocols. The office is going to be close to the public, but we are reached by phone, those kind of things. You know, we couldn't travel anymore. So anything that would put the employee at risk or the employer at risk. So whether that be the organization as a whole financially, or like the health, you need a healthy, strong support group. Then when we hit this last Friday with the difference between non-essential and essential, it got a lot more challenging because we do have to follow the law. And that's where it gets a little trickier. So I did an amendment to the memo that our agreement stating if you know, we need to learn, this is a time where we need to learn how to work remotely from home. But there are some companies that have been deemed as essential where we have to keep going. We do certificate of origin. That is supply chain management. So those have to be documents where it's stamped and it's signed and it has to have original ink. Otherwise that can slow down our supply chain management. Would it be nice to be able to work 100% from home remotely? Absolutely. But there's some organizations that can. And that is some of the challenge between how do you define what's essential, what's not essential. If it's not essential, but I'm still doing all the precautions, you know, but so my guide is always have that strong risk management plan in place, have a strong understanding with your employees, so you can show your due diligence to yourself and your employees and your customers. But follow the law. You have to follow the law, because you would hate to see a business go down because they didn't follow the law. And that's the strict code of reality.
Yeah, absolutely. No argument there.
Yeah.
Do you want yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I just thought I'd jump in because I work under the umbrella of a not-for-profit that provides direct support to adults with disabilities, and watching how they've rolled out that crisis plan has been really educational, because I work for a smaller kind of subsection of theirs. Watching them kind of prioritize, you know, government regulations, but also, you know, we are having staff go into people's homes because they need support. There are aspects of their lives that they can't conduct without that support. So trying to balance, like, what do we need to do and what are we legally obliged to do, has been, I think, the benefit of having that crisis plan has been invaluable. And I also just wanted to say really quick, as I see everything in the chat, speaking from the perspective of somebody who helped try and launch this event, I think this is great. And I just want to encourage everybody who can, if you see a question in the chat, or if you hear something here and we don't necessarily have the time to have you answer it, please do connect afterwards. The entire point of these meetings is to foster that mentorship. So definitely keep it up. If you see any sort of opportunity to speak on that experience, please do, because this is exactly what we're trying to accomplish here, and it's important now more than ever. So.
Yeah, and we're going to keep the room open. The room. Isn't life weird right now? We're going to keep the Zoom room open for a half an hour after. So whoever wants to stay can stay and chat with whoever. And you can even privately message each other. In the bottom right there, you can select the person and you could send a message just to somebody that you want to talk to, and you can connect offline, or yeah.
I have to leave, but Kelli Rae, thank you very much for this, and all the participants. Appreciate that. Got another Zoom in 3 minutes. Keep well, stay safe. We're going to get through it.
Thanks for joining us, Allan. Thank you. Do you have any more questions, guys?
I just would like to pose sort of a question / statement. So I think one of the things for me that's really challenging at this time, as well as a lot of other people in the event industry and maybe other industries, is that, you know, like the government has specified that non-essential services need to shut down. So retail and obviously lots of other services. However, some of those services are still allowed by the government to do like curbside pickup or delivery, things like that. So from my perspective in the event industry, it is technically, potentially still possible for me to like rent products out to people. Like, again, they're not going to be having events, but I think the bigger question is, as a small business owner, if it comes between like, you know, paying your bills that month or, you know, being as protective in this situation to the public and yourself as you can, how do you try to make those decisions as you go along? So as a photographer, you can do your job from a distance, but do people still feel comfortable with you going potentially to their homes? Or, you know, and again, I think like you even pick up, like say for Kaela, for example, like even for pickup of products, are you educating your customers on the processes you're putting in place to make that safe, or and then marketing that? Or how are you going about deciding to sell your products or not sell your products, I guess is what I'm wondering.
So I'll totally answer that because I have been so lost on what we're supposed to be doing. If we're essential, non-essential, if I can have one person in the shop at a time. I think it boils down to is I just feel terrible for having to lay everyone off, and I just am looking for ways to help my team members and trying to figure out stuff that they can do and just to keep your sanity. And so what I was talking to a few people, and if I had one person in the shop in the building at one, like per day, and then we all follow the same protocol for cleaning before, like when we leave and all that stuff like that. I feel like that is acceptable because we're not having clients come in. But for example, today I had a client message me and she wanted to pick up her order. It's been there forever. And so we have like a double wall, like a double door type thing. And so our protocol was that she was coming, we left it in there, she came in, picked it up and whatever else. But I'm terrified to keep doing that. Like, I don't want to. I have so many orders that are in my shop right now that people have paid for, just even from school orders. Like I have 4 full school orders of different kids that have purchased stuff and everything's there. Like, what do you do? Like, I don't want to do the wrong thing, and I don't like, but if we're able to do this, like, why don't we do this?
Well, with the sanitization procedures, like my understanding is that COVID is actually very easy to kill with the proper sanitization. So as long as we're wiping everything down and we're making sure there's even that, like I don't have them in front of me, but I know that alberta.ca/COVID-19 or COVID-19 has so much information on there. And if you follow those guidelines, it is safe. If you don't have people with symptoms coming in, if you don't have people who are living with people who have symptoms coming in, if you don't have people who've traveled, if you don't have contact with people, if you maintain 2 meters distance, if you wipe everything down, right? Like, so as long as you're following those things, you should be mitigating that risk.
But then, like, the way society is, so then I feel like, okay, one person in at a time, everybody's following this. Like, our team is really good. We're like, there's no screwing around. Like, this is how we're going to do it. The clients don't come in, here's your order. But then you have people like, there's some mean people out there that will like go out of the way to try and like wreck what you have. Like, for my husband, for instance, so A1 truck wash, he has to, it may not seem like an essential service to you guys, but for a truck to reload with food, they need a wash ticket. So my husband is at work, you know, like he's there and people are like, oh, Dino's at work and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, do you want your food delivered? Like, people just are not educated enough. And I think that's what's hurting businesses, because they just start spewing whatever. So what I want to know is like as long as we're following, like, it should be okay, right?
I think you should promote that you're following it. That's what we're doing. We're clean, we're sanitizing, we're contactless, you know, but if you need your shoes, we're here. That's what we're doing. I know that there's like an ethical thing there, right? But like I said, that's
a-
only my opinion. I welcome other people's opinions on it, but if we're following all those guidelines, that's why those guidelines are there, right?
Well, and that's, so Kaela, I'll use the registries as an example, because we're an essential service and we have to stay open because it's amazing how many people don't have their Alberta healthcare card. We're one of the only registries in town that does Alberta healthcare. And then your driver's license, which is essential now because you need that ACN number in order to qualify for the government benefits. So we're seeing all these things come into place. So so Dave made these security screens that then block the staff and the customer, so there's a guard up. And then there's hand sanitizer everywhere. There's a note on the front door that says, we are following the Alberta guidelines. We are not allowing more than, I think we have it down to 5 people because we're including our staff in that number as well. So we're really being strict and posting everything and saying, because then you get some clients that are cranky and they don't want to wait in line and why do I have to, well, this is why. So just be really clear with posting. There's lots of great posters on the website. We have hand sanitizer as soon as you walk in, and it says, please use this immediately upon arrival. So it's just those kind of things, because then you can show your due diligence, and it just gives peace of mind. But it's tough when you're essential and non-essential. It's a tough challenge. And what we have to do is continue to work together and show that we're working together. So, because at the end of this, we've got to come together as a community to help everybody get their gears rolling again. So we don't have time, and we should not be putting energy into being negative and beating each other up. That's just Cindy.
Also over communicate. Over communicate. You know, over communicate, send emails, put it on your social media, pin it to the top. We have like 3 posters on our doors. When people call, we say it. Like, make sure people know you're doing everything possible to keep them safe, because that's got to be the first priority.
Hi everyone. Sorry if I can step in. I have a home-based business where I travel to different parts of the province to do work as a consultant. I don't actually have any customers in Lethbridge, but I am in the transportation industry. So I have customers that have lost 90% of the business, laid off complete office staff, laid off everything. And Kaela, to speak to your point and what everybody has been kind of echoing, is that it is the communication and the misinformation that's out there. And part of the problem, I think, with social media right now is the abundance of misinformation on what you can and can't do, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And so what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks is communicating to my existing customers, hey, here's a blanket email every week, because I don't have that many, I have 40 or 50. Here's a blanket email every week of what's happening. Here's a link to resources that are applicable to you. This is what the new developments are. This is how I can service you in today's capacity. I've set up a OneDrive where people can upload documents to me for me to look at and review. You know, just little things like that to go, here's some resources. Here, you know, I also do some work for Alberta Transport. They're still allowing me to go to transportation companies. I've taken that upon myself to go, no, I can do it another way. I've got approval from them to do it another way. So I can do it remotely from sitting in my home office. So in speaking to what you talked about, what is safe and what isn't safe, it really comes down to a personal decision on your business, but also that legal side that Cindy talked about, and aligning those two and what your risk tolerance is. And if you're communicating to your customers via, maybe it's a letter that you send out, here's all our protocols, here's all the things, mirroring that when they arrive on site, you know, demonstrating, you know, even if it's a blog post or a video or something of you guys cleaning the entryway afterwards. This is what we do after every customer, and dispelling those myths. And I think that's, you know, making sure you're aligned with those regulatory requirements, but then showing people that. And that's where social media, I think, can be of value to a business, is by that demonstration, as opposed to, hey, we're doing this stuff. Well, show people that you're doing it. That's what they want to see. And as long as it meets those guidelines and you know what those guidelines are and you're educated, I don't think there's an issue personally, but that's a personal decision. So thank you.
Thank you. And also, I just stopped the chat for a second again because I saw a really important point here that I want to address before it goes flying past. Chris Broughton, Kaela, just wanted to comment on your comment about keeping staff. I understand this is a concern many employees are having and want to keep their team. Have you been looking into the 75% wage subsidy? So Chris, if you want to talk about this, you can. Cindy and I's sort of view on this is that it changes so quickly. Like it's happened to me many times where I get off a call and there's been a news update. So it might be different, but yeah, Chris, if you want to just explain a little bit about that, so that everyone knows about it, do you think that would be helpful? Would you like to speak to that, like on camera? Can't find you here. There you are. Chris, do you have me muted? I unmuted you, Chris. Can you hear me?
It's working now.
Chris has had me muted the whole time. He hasn't been listening for an hour and 9 minutes. Just kidding. Do you want to speak to that, Chris?
Sure, I can speak to that a little briefly. Yeah, I mean, just like you said, it is really changing all the time. We were supposed to hear from Bill Morneau, the Minister of Finance, today. However, they've now postponed that meeting till tomorrow. But what we do know about the program in very, very little detail is that it will apply to basically what they said, all businesses, small and large in Canada, as long as you can demonstrate a 30% decrease in your business or your sales due to COVID-19. That's really all the detail that we have on this. I've had conversations with people online right now about it. There's articles being posted about it, but really the only details we know for sure is that it's a 30% decrease in your business, and that it'll apply to, as they said, all businesses in Canada. That's really all we know.
And one thing too, I know nobody on this call would ever do this, but there was also a warning in the federal announcement that I listened to about trying to take advantage of this. So make sure that you do have that 30% decrease in sales if you're going to keep that 75% of your payroll remittance, because they said the penalties will be harsh and there is an overview system in place. So
yeah, Justin Trudeau
not a free for all.
Severe consequences.
Yeah, severe consequences.
Kaela had a question.
So quick question. So I was talking to someone else actually yesterday about this. So when all this went down and we actually, for the first time since I've been involved in this company, have had 0 sales. Like nobody wants t-shirts right now. It's just crazy. I'm like, this is the best time to market. What are you doing? So if anyone needs anything, but
the first shameless plug of the meeting.
No, but anyway, so when because it feels like the world obviously is going 10 million miles an hour. Like every hour something's different, and I feel like we're all just jumping to conclusions and doing what we have to do. And so we unfortunately had to lay everyone off. So now, and then hearing about the 75%. So what do you unlay someone off and then bring back, like for instance, my office manager who could be doing, doing my AR, doing procedures, doing accounts payable? Do you pick and choose who you would bring back, or is that even not, is that even legal?
Yeah, no, it depends on what type of layoff you did, whether it was a permanent or a temporary layoff. If it was a temporary layoff, you basically just issue recall notice to that employee, and you have to give them 7-day written notice of recall. And then basically you just reinstate that employee, and the employment relationship continues, no problem. If it was a permanent layoff, you can still rehire that individual, but obviously they don't. You've already paid out severance and all of that as well. So the employment relationship was severed at that point. But if it was just a temporary layoff, you can just issue recall notice and get back working.
Do you think it's beneficial to? Like, who would you, I don't know, do you do that for everybody? Like, I just feel bad almost taking, like they're going to make more, I feel bad laying them off temporarily, because when you're on EI, they're not making anything. Like, this breaks my bloody heart, you guys. Seriously, I feel awful. My one team member just bought a house like last week, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. So is it better to just hire them all back, do the 75% thing, and then have them sit there with their twiddling their thumbs. Like if they can't work, if I can't have them all in the business at the same time, and they're only working 1 day a week, then I guess I just have to do simple math to figure out what's.
The thing I urge you to consider though is that it's just 75% of the income tax portion of the remittance. So
no, Kelly,
Nope.
just no, it's not.
No.
They've changed that. It's completely different than the 10% model.
Yeah.
So I would strongly encourage you not to even look at that 10% model, because that's been pushed aside. And so don't look at that. The 75%, we don't even know how it's defined yet. It was supposed to come out today. Minister Minot was supposed to announce, but it still isn't. And from some of the discussions I'm having at the government level this morning, it might not be until after April 6th, because the government's priority is the CERB program before the 75% wage subsidy. So it's tough. It's a tough discussion. And Kaela, I hear you. It's a difficult challenge, because as the business, you have to think 30 days, you have to think 60 days, and there's some just tough choices right now. And I hear you. So I would really encourage you to reach out to who works with you business wise, and you need to look at the long term, even scope it out till September. What does that look like? I don't mean to sound that aggressive, but we don't know right now. And until we have that clear direction, and it's just really tough. So yeah, that wage subsidy is not on the income tax. It's not, they've changed a lot of that. So we can't even compare it to the 1% anymore.
Yeah, no, the information that I've been getting about that program is that it's 75% of the wage up to $58,700. But as Cindy mentioned, again, the details are so vague on this that we really don't know how this is going to roll out. All that we know is that this is what the Prime Minister has announced.
Demi's asking about solopreneurs who are, their business has collapsed basically, who they can't apply to EI because they haven't been putting into EI.
Dig a little deeper.
Chris, do you wanna answer that one, or Demi, do you wanna talk? I don't see you. Are you on camera?
I am.
Hi.
Hi. Basically, like, because I work as, like, I do body shirring, so basically we're not able to be open because I have no personal space between clients, and obviously, like, I already keep my space extremely clean. And before they finally announced for people in my field for personal services to be closed, I'd already closed down just for the safety of my clients and myself and my family. So they keep announcing things about businesses, and it talks about, you know, the employer, and it talks about the employees. Well, I'm a sole proprietorship. I work for myself, and, you know, and how I have it worked with my accountant is I get paid as a shareholder because I'm the sole shareholder of my business.
So I don't know, corporation?
My corporation, yes, because I am.
Okay.
So I don't know how any of this is going to work, because I'm like, it's only me. I mean, I pay a lease, I run my business, I pay my taxes. I'm like, nothing in any of this information seems to fall into how I'm going to work, right? So I'm curious as to how this is all going to work out in the end.
Yeah, I'm going to let Chris take this for you.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Hillary. Yeah, no, what we're hearing from the government is that individuals, such as self in this case, can apply for the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, and they can go down that road for that particular benefit.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Demi, I'm in the same position as you are. And again, Chris can correct me if I say anything that's incorrect at this moment, but I think what my plan is to do at this moment is to try to apply for the CERB benefit but to also look into the 75% as far as an employee, because it depends how you're getting paid through your corporation, because your corporation is a separate entity from you. So if you're being paid as an employee versus being paid through like dividends or something else, it's possible that you might be eligible for some of that, the 75% coverage as well through your corporation, which can then help potentially pay you as an employee. So I don't know if they're putting restrictions as far as if you can apply for one and not the other or both, but I am definitely going to be looking into both.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys.
I can speak to that a little bit. I'm also a CPA. So what it's probably going to be, and nobody's seen what this is going to look like for sole proprietors. But my understanding is what Chris said was it's going to be the same as if you were an employee and got laid off. You're going to be able to go in and get that emergency relief. I personally, if it was me, won't apply for both. I consider that to be maybe cheating the system, but whatever one is more applicable to your business on how you get paid and when you get paid, whether it's a T4, whether it's a dividend, or whether you've put a bunch of money in and are pulling that out of your shareholder loan so you can do it tax-free for the time being. It really depends on what it's going to be, and nobody knows what it's going to look like yet. And as soon as it does, I'm happy to go through it because I'll be doing that for myself. I'm happy to share any information that I have with you, so just reach out and get a hold of me. But yeah, nobody knows what that's going to look like yet because they haven't released it. So
yeah, awesome. Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, guys. I know that it was inevitable that we would all end up talking about what's going on with businesses and COVID right now, because it's so present and it's so important. I feel like the marketing questions have sort of ceased. So I hope that the intention of this session was to give you guys some tools, some ways of collecting and analyzing data to make better marketing decisions. But I also want to make sure that you know that Friday at 4:30, Lane Anderson and I are going to be doing another free Zoom call where we're really going to dig into marketing and sales in a new landscape. So you're all more than welcome to join us on that call. And it'll be the exact same format. Will be a bit of instruction, and then we'll be doing a lot of brainstorming. So I hope that really helped you in many different ways. I hope you feel a little more bit of a community because we are all here for each other, just not in the same room, able to hug. And we're all here, to reach out to you separately outside of this conversation. And, we have a ton of free resources on our website. The Chamber website is full of great resources. And there's so many brilliant entrepreneurs on this call who are doing amazing things. So if you kind of felt like you saw somebody on today's call and you're like, I would like to be friends with that person, I encourage you to creep them on social media and become friends and share ideas.
I just wanted to add, we'll be reaching, because this is our second, the expert of the Chamber. So, and doing it, switching it from an in-person to a via Zoom. So we'll be connecting with all of you and getting some feedback on what to do next and how to make it better. And maybe we could just see how we can deliver it so we can maybe get the information to you ahead of time. So then we can be ready with questions so expect a survey. It'll be coming from Catherine.
Yeah. I just want to make a quick comment. Thank you everybody for sharing all your comments and joining in on this conversation. And something somebody had said is overshare right now about what you're doing to get through this, and please do that. And at the Chamber, we are sharing those Facebook posts for our members. So if you're sharing something on social media and you would like us to share it on our page for our followers, I'm trying to follow our members, but please email me. It's Catherine@lethbridgechamber.com. I will gladly share any initiatives you have, anything that you're marketing right now as you're pivoting, and you want to kind of get that message out of how you're pivoting your business. Please let me know and I will share that for our followers to see. And we're here to help in any way. So.
And Catherine, when is the next exchange? Because the next exchange is part 2 of the marketing session that we just did, right?
Let me double check the dates. It's April. I'll check really quick.
Okay, no rush. I'm sure you'll send it out to everybody, right?
I will send it out to everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
the third week in April, is that right?
Okay.
Fourth, okay. Fourth Tuesday in April.
So the next exchange with the chamber and with me and with all of you guys, hopefully, will be then. Part 2 of the marketing.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, but also join us on Friday if you'd like. Get on my email list on my website and we'll send out an invite to you guys. And reach out if you guys have any questions or if you need any free resources or anything. We're here to help. Everyone on this call is here to help. That's why we're here. So have a great day, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.